Welcome to session 7 of the Principles of Mobile Marketing, which is all about the planning process. If you're going to do any marketing campaign, and mobile is no different, you need to identify what that customer demand is. One of the things about mobile is we have many different devices, and they are used differently by different sections of the population. So understanding where your customers are in the mobile landscape is really important to delivering the right kind of campaign. So you can actually do some customer profiling. So the first thing to do is to start with who are your customers. And you can then look at what they're doing in mobile. So here's some examples. These are generalizations, but you can actually be quite specific within different demographic groups, different age groups, different incomes, different genders. Typically, young people have been the early adopters, but in mobile it's often been about text messaging. At the turn of the millennium, they were the ones who took this business tool and made it into the popular widespread tool that it is now. But they're driving a new type of activity in terms of instant messaging, and particularly around BBM. So young users tend to be more geared towards BlackBerries. They tend to be more geared towards instant messaging. The adults, particularly those on middling and higher incomes, are the ones who are really driving things forward on smartphones. So they're the ones with the iPhones and the Android handsets. And they are also the ones who tend to be doing the app downloading particularly, and the web browsing. Amongst the older audience, the seniors, there's less smartphone activity, and they're tending to do less with, even those who do own smartphones are tending to do less within it. And they certainly there's certainly some distance behind the younger audience. But that is beginning to change. If you think about 10 years ago or so, SMS was very much a teenage thing. And as they started using it, other people came on board to the point where all of the population use it. Perhaps your older adults won't text as much as a teenager, but they will access that channel as many times as much as a teenager does. So 90% of all mobile users use text. A really interesting thing is beginning to happen with the smartphone penetration, which is that your kind of younger adults have already got their smartphones, but older people are adopting them very, very quickly now. If you imagine 10 years ago, SMS was very much a channel for young people, and it filtered all the way through. As they started to use it, as other people saw the benefits, then all of the demographics started to access SMS. So adults, older adults, use text as much as younger people. They might not send as many texts, but 90% of people still access that channel. Now, if you look at this chart for showing smartphone penetration in the US, a similar thing is being mirrored in the UK, where your 45 to 54-year-old audience here are actually adopting smartphones faster than any other age group. And what that means is all the activities that we're seeing in the younger, more affluent adults right now are going to filter through to every part of the population. Gender also plays a part. And once again, you tend to see early adoption more by men than women. But again, it's coming through where both men and women are adopting, but they're doing it in slightly different ways. So the iPhone, slightly more skewed towards men than women. On the other hand, Android, which is being adopted very, very quickly, is much more towards men, particularly younger men. Whereas BlackBerries, more women own BlackBerries than men own the device. And it's really important to understand what your different demographics are doing in the mobile landscape so you can target them accordingly. The other thing you need to understand, of course, is what your customer behaviour is. And there's a number of key measures that can help you with that. So the first thing we have is recency. And this is a measure of how recent was that person targeted or responded to a message. And in mobile, memories are very, very short. So if you haven't contacted that customer for a couple of years on their mobile device, very often you're having to treat it as a new as a new customer. Similarly, frequency is very important. If people aren't responding, then maybe your message isn't getting out. And finally, you've got transaction history, which actually looks at what they're doing with their purchasing and how much they're using over time. And if you know what your customer behavior is, then you can then target your mobile campaign accordingly. One of the difficulties with mobile is that things are new. people are doing campaigns that people haven't tried before. So testing is absolutely essential to any mobile campaign. So it's important that you have some kind of testing process. The great thing about mobile is that for many channels you can actually test on a smaller audience. So you can try QR in certain bits of your advertising and see whether that works. You can send SMS to a group of 5,000 customers before you send it to the whole lot. And even for things like app development, you can actually test ideas with your audience before you go ahead and do it. And this is really important for a medium that is often untested. One of the great things about mobile is because it's always there and it's always on, you can get information back from people, so you can do data capture. And there's really two elements of that. The first is the kind of non-mobile data capture. And you can do that through forms, particularly mobile web, and also through apps. And then the other thing is to the data capture actually from the device itself. So phone number, for example, you can do through texting. You can find out their operator. If you're accessing mobile web, you know what if they're accessing the mobile web, they know what the operating system is, the device type. And with apps, you can pick up other kinds of identifying information. But it's important that you do actually capture that data because it will help you manage and refine your campaigns.